Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'll just give the waiting room a second to clear. We are so excited that you are joining today to celebrate the amazing Jeanie LoVetri. Today's webinar is called A Spotlight on Jeanie LoVetri, and we are here celebrating this amazing woman who has touched many of our lives artistically and personally and spiritually. Today, just giving an overview of how these webinars work. You'll see at the bottom of the screen the word chat. I'm going to type hello in the chat. If you have any questions for Jeanie over the course of tonight's webinar, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we will try to get to those because there will be a Q&A later that's a little bit more about the technical side of singing, or you might have a question about Jeanie's life and her work for the first part when we're doing the panel. If you're currently in gallery view, meaning you're seeing lots of little tiny faces on the screen, you're going to want to switch over to speaker view. So up in the top right of the screen, you're going to want to click where it says view and switch from gallery over to speaker view, and that should make it so that you're just seeing one big face on the screen rather than like a whole bunch of tiny little ones. But we have a wonderful panel, and I'm going to pass it off to Jeanie to just say hello to everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm very honored to see so many of you here. It's kind of exciting to talk about everything that I think we're going to talk about, and it's a little bit daunting to come to a point in your life where you have to go, oh, I think it's time to retire. It's a mixed blessing, but I'm looking forward to what's next, what's coming down the road, and it's really a great privilege to have on this whatever discussion panel three of the people whom I absolutely love and adore, who are amazing, incredible artists, each of whom has contributed so much to the profession in their own way. They're all very unique artists. They're friends, but that's coincidental, as each of them works at their own way independently as incredible musicians, vocalists, composers, arrangers, and of course singers. And they have been working with me for a long time. So we are friends, dear beloved friends, as well as teacher artist. And so Billy, I guess you're going to be the moderator, so I'm going to go ahead and let you moderate, and we'll see
Yeah,
what
we're all
happens.
kind of moderating. We've got like a little secret document that that's circulating behind the scenes. So Theo, you're going to start us off.
Yeah, I came to Jeanie 30 years ago, 1994, I think it was.
When you were 5.
Yes, exactly, right? That's why we're friends. And it was because I was starting to work with Meredith Monk, and I said, this work is so challenging and so wild and so fantastic, but I do need somebody to help me with certain things. I'd never had formal voice training. I got along fine without it, but this was a crossroads. And Meredith said, there's only one person that can help you, and that was Jeanie LoVetri. So from the first lesson, it was clear that this woman knows more than I will ever know. But the thing I would like to know from you is how did you start doing this? Like, where did you begin even thinking, okay, now I'm going to go into this? How did you create the first CCM Vocal Pedagogy Institute in 22? How did you get to amass all this knowledge? What happened?
Well, when I lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, I was involved in a local theater company, and I think it was in 1971, we did a production of Finian's Rainbow, and I was asked to be the vocal director, and I was 22. And when you're 22, you think you can do anything. You think you know more than anyone else on earth. So of course I blithely said yes, and then proceeded to do what struck me off the seat of my pants. I look back at that now and go, but anyway, I managed. As well, I was understudying one of the leads. Something you can only do when you're 22 years old. And I found that while I was doing that, the kids who were in the show would come up and say, I can't sing this part. You help me? And I was like, oh, well, yeah, you just got to do this. And then you do this and you go do that. Oh, and then it was better. And I found that I was doing that more and more often. And I wasn't necessarily looking at something as doing that particularly, but it seemed like they would ask questions that I could answer. So the following year, I did a different musical in a different group. We did Once Upon a Mattress, and I actually played the part of the nightingale, the bird, and I vocal directed, and it was the same thing. The kids in the cast would come and ask me, well, how do I sing this part? And I seem to have answers. I'm a very good know-it-all, you know. So I then when I was training, I was always studying with opera people, but I was always singing music theater or whatever else came along. And I wanted to be able to sing a lot of different things. And the classical people always said, oh, you can't do that. You'll hurt your voice. Oh, you can't do that. You'll ruin your singing.
Right.
And I couldn't understand why that would be the case. So then I got bitten by golly, I'm going to find out. And I just tried to find as many different kinds of resources. And finally, when I was 29, somebody said, you know, you should go to this conference called Care of the Professional Voice, which was at that time was at Juilliard. And I was broker than broke, but I saved my pennies and I registered and went. And I walked into this lecture hall at Juilliard. And there were all these charts and graphs and pictures of throats. And I thought, holy cow, what is this? But I somehow knew that this was real information. This was not about vibrating your forehead or spinning the tone out through the top of your head. And I thought, yeah, this is what I need. So I proceeded to attend every year and ask as many questions as possible and meet people. And then I started to read books. And I began to realize, wow, there's a lot to know that's real. But it was still all oriented toward classical singing. After all, we were at Juilliard. Yeah. So finally, I worked my way up over the years to be invited to teach as part of the workshop day, which is sort of a life-changing thing. And while I was teaching music theater, one of the scientists who's still with us is the eminent scientist on Earth, Dr. Johan Sundberg in Stockholm, Sweden, said, yeah, your voice is very interesting. You should come to do some research in Stockholm. And I was like, oh, this is like, you know, Albert Einstein asked you to come and work on E=mc². So I made a workshop in Denmark with somebody I knew there. And then I was able to call and say, guess what? I'm going to be right close. And I did research with him in 1987. And that really was a life-changing experience because for the first time, I began to understand how voice science was going to teach me to sing all the different things that we all sing. And I subsequently taught several more times, and somebody from Virginia was there. They asked me to come to Shenandoah University and do master classes. The dean saw me teach. She asked me to create a course. And I did the first contemporary commercial music vocal pedagogy course in 2002 at Shenandoah. And it was all very happenstance and kind of serendipitous. I never had a plan for any of that. I was driven by the desire to know. I wanted to know. And I want to know why and why not. And the why not wasn't so big after I did some digging. So that's kind of the gist of it, like how I got to do what I'm still doing.
Wow. Well, there was no non-classical singing teacher of that quality around at that time.
Well, you either studied classical or you didn't study.
Yeah.
Right.
And then in the classical world, you either got a teacher who made sense or you didn't. You could have got a teacher who was, I had a number of teachers who were like, whatever they were talking about, I didn't understand. And I always felt really stupid, you know, like I should understand this. But then I would go out in the hallway and cry. So.
Can I jump in? I had a question for you, Jeanie. I was wondering about back then in your own career. How was your career unfolding, and did you perform a lot? What kinds of things did you sing at that time?
Well, I
before you
always, yeah, I
started
always
preaching?
sang in church. I played the organ in church when the Catholic Church went to the lay mass in 1960. I was drafted at the age of 11 to play for mass, and eventually I worked my way up to play for high mass. I taught myself to play the organ. Same thing, hubris. What did I know? There was this big thing with a lot of buttons and some things on the floor, and I just sat there and played around and, oh, that sounded fun. What's that? Oh, what's this one? And then I would sing before mass. Along the way, of course, I was in the same music theater company. The first thing I did was Marion and Music Man, and then I did Magnolia and Showboat, and finally did Bells Are Ringing, where I played Ella Peterson. And those people that ran that company were Broadway professionals, because I only lived an hour away from New York. So I was very lucky that the first people I dealt with were people who had Broadway experience, and my training came from being with them. But then when I moved to New York in 1975, I did whatever I could do, and I ended up in something called Broadway Soul at Lincoln Center, which was a big production at Lincoln Center, large cast. I had a bunch of solos. And then we sang at Rockefeller Center, and we sang at the Brooklyn Museum. We sang at the Jazz Church, the St. Peter's Church, on all kinds of different levels. Usually I had a solo in which Chapman Roberts, who was the vocal director, would just look at me and go like this. And so I would just sing the highest note in the chord that I could sing, and that was kind of my job, was the official high note hitter. And so I did some children's musicals. I sang at Lincoln Center Library. And then in 1979, I decided that I started teaching when I was 22, and I was kind of teaching and singing and teaching and singing. And then I finally decided that's too hard to juggle that. So I became committed to being a teacher. And then right after that, I bumped into the Voice Foundation. And I just came back from there on Sunday. I'm now on the advisory board, and I'm a poster judge, and worked my way up to 46th year in a row that I went there.
Wow.
In your early Christmas parties, when I started studying with you, Jeanie, you would stand on the piano and sing Christmas songs in the highest keys possible. So fantastic.
Well, I was singing with them at St. Peter's Church, in the jazz church, and he put me in the choir loft way up high, and I was singing "This Little Light of Mine," and I think it was like, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine," and then the next verse, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine," and then "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine," and then the last three notes were shine, and I'm up there. I don't know what note I was on. And later, one of the amazing gospel vocalists that was in it, they were just really well, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, I want to learn to sing like you." And I said, no. You do so well. You do what you do. You don't want to sing like me. It was a great gift to sing with all those people. They were, a lot of them working on Broadway, but they grew up singing in church. And of course, now we have our wonderful Dr. Trinice, who's teaching everybody about that tremendously important music.
Yeah. Jeanie, hi from Los Angeles here.
Hello, Luciana.
I could speak of you forever, but I wanted to say a couple of things before I have a question for you that I'd like to ask. Is, of course, say hello to everybody. I have Theo Blackman to thank for putting me in touch with you. I also heard your name from, of course, Dominique Eade, who I think is here today with us. I was studying with Dominique at the time, and Theo said, you have to study with Jeanie. She is, of course, a genius. So you became the genius, all of us. And I think the two things that come to mind when I think about you and I celebrate you and I share, my love for you is, first of all, your curiosity, which is endless, right? You're just curious about many things, and that's why you can play the organ and you can teach the way you do and you can create this whole thing. But also is your ability to listen not only to your students, but I think to yourself. And I think those are beautiful gifts that you give me when I think about, questions that I ask myself often during the day when I'm teaching and doing other things. I often ask myself, what would Jeanie think? What would Jeanie do? What would Jeanie say? And I come back to this thing about just listen to the student, listen to myself. And so I'm so grateful to you, as you know, for so many years that I've studied with you, but of course, grateful to Dominique and to Theo for introducing you to me. I want to pivot back a little bit to what you talked about, how you started and why you did this thing. What led you to be able to see what teachers were missing, and to be able to solve this problem of what teachers were missing in their teaching, if that makes any sense?
It does make sense. I suppose the other thing that I have to talk about that I usually don't talk about is that when I was 22, I had a very profound spiritual experience that was spontaneous, which was completely and totally a surprise to me. I didn't know that people had experiences like that. I mean, certainly the Catholic Church doesn't tell you that you're going to have experiences like that. It was kind of like St. Paul on the road to Damascus. This thing that happened to me that I was the most profound thing that I'd ever experienced that I couldn't understand, but it was very real. And that was also a life-changing experience. And it led me into equal study of what you'd have to call metaphysics or spirituality in a generic way. So I started to read about various religions and various traditions. And then I got involved in energy healing and chakras and yoga and meditation. And I cultivated the natural sort of psychic sense that I had. It runs in my family. My aunt was particularly psychic. And at some point, I think it was about 1983, they came together kind of spontaneously that I was sitting here at the piano in this room, and I suddenly saw voice as a globe. And the information seemed to come in through the top of my head. It kind of fell into my head like you would drop a ball. And I suddenly saw that no matter where the person's voice was on the globe, you could get from here to here, or from here to here, or from here to here. And then it all kind of made sense. And from that experience, I was able to feel my own intuition very strongly. And that was the beginning of listening without thinking, just being still, and then focusing on the sound that the person in front of me was making and letting that sound talk to me. And I even wrote in the course materials about the time I had a singer who had been working with me for a while, a few months, and she was on Broadway, and she came in and she sang for 5 minutes, and I said to her, "Oh, you're in love." And she looked at me, "Oh my gosh, how do you know that?" I said, "It's in your voice." "How can you know that?" I said, "Because it's in your voice." And she said, "Well, as a matter of fact, over the weekend, I met and fell in love with a new man, and we're head over heels in love." And I've had that happen a number of times, where the sound just says something to me, which if I had to prove to you on a rational basis that it came because of X or Y, I couldn't. And so that has, over the decades, has grown so that if I'm just quiet and I listen, it's almost like there's a little automatic mechanism that says, "Okay, now we're going to do this exercise. Oh, now we have to go over here." And of course, the more I rested on that, the stronger it got, the easier it got. And then it's almost like I'm writing on whatever that is in the lesson. So the more I know the person's voice, I know who they are as a human being. I understand more about their artistic goals, like who is it that you are, and you're different than somebody else, and how am I able to help your voice go where you want it to go, not where I want it to go. And then how do we keep your voice in balance with your body, your breath, and then the rhythm of the life of the body and the breath as you sing. And a lot of that is just plain intuition. It doesn't have an explanation. But I feel that the way we work now, as we do somatic voice work, that gets cultivated in everybody if they're open to it.
Hmm.
You know, people start to say, I sort of just knew what to do. And I go, oh, really? How about that? I really love that.
Jeanie, that kind of segs into a question, and that would be, how did you develop somatic voice work? Where was the inception? Where did it begin? And how do people sort of cultivate that intuition if they don't have it, sort of through your work and the structure that you've given it?
Well, I did go to a lot of workshops and classes. I studied with a lot of teachers here in New York. And kind of to refer back to Luciana's question, I could see that, why don't they answer this question, or why aren't they going in that direction? I could just see, I had a vision, big vision, for where the profession was and where it could be, where it could get to be. And it's not there yet, but it's moving in that direction. And I I always felt, maybe one of the reasons I've been compatible to work with Meredith Monk all these years was that the voice could do everything. You don't have to limit your voice. But that isn't the way people are taught. They're taught to sing in a box. And so I wanted to be the opposite of that. And yes, we have boxes when we need the boxes. So if we're going to sing a certain kind of sound for a certain kind of music, a certain kind of way, okay, that's a box. But then we come out of that box and we go someplace else. And so when I sat down to write the course materials, Billy, it's the same thing. I know it sounds kind of silly, but they wrote themselves. It was like I just sat alone. I was in my cousin's house in the winter, and they worked during the day. So I had this big house in Connecticut, and I just wrote. Oh, yeah. And it just came out of me. And I really didn't change very much after I wrote it. A little bit of editing, but the structure was very clear that in the first level, you better be able to hear vocal registers or you're going to not hear anything else. And then the second level was, okay, we all use exercises, but most people have no idea why or what to do with them. So we just sing exercises because somebody told you to. And then the third one was that my enormous, strong impulse for teachers to understand vocal health. Because if you don't understand what's a healthy sound, and you don't understand the difference between something that's a health problem and a technical problem, you can't help your student, you can't help yourself. So all of that, just, I couldn't type it fast enough. And then afterwards I went back and sort of organized it, and I'm still in the middle of yet another reorganization. I had hoped to get it done for this year, but I had surgery, so of course that didn't happen.
Wow. Wow.
I thought of something about Theo that came to mind. I don't know if it was the first lesson or maybe it was the first, like the second or third lesson, but I remember very clearly. I think I said something like, you're not actually singing an ah vowel, Theo. Do you remember that?
Yes.
said
My mind
that-
was blown. What do you mean? I'm saying
That's
what?
not actually an ah, And you were like, what? And I don't think I took in at the time that you were originally from Germany.
Ah,
And maybe there was an element of that, but I remember. And so, I often, when you're singing, because everything about your singing is so amazing, your ah vowels are really good.
Didn't you run backstage after a performance once, after Meredith's show, and said, that was a great ah vowel? That's
Yeah,
it.
it was Allison Easter,
Yes, that was
Meredith,
it.
and Janice Brenner. And I said, oh, you guys, your ah vowels are all so good. And they cracked up. They said, oh my God, you're the only person in the world that would come backstage and say that.
Jeanie, I have a
Sorry.
question for you.
Yeah.
In the years that I've been working with you and before, I want to hear about one or two big mistakes that you felt you made. They can be funny or crazy, but we all love you, we all worship you, we know you are the bee's knees, but we want to know some of the train wrecks that have happened.
Well, insofar as being aware of something that was like an obvious mistake, it was when I was working with someone who had come to me who had tension and problems, and I went about in my, Aries way of, I'm going to fix this, but
Yeah.
and then the poor woman couldn't sing the way she had been singing, and she couldn't yet sing in a way that was going to be the next new way. And I basically took her ability to sing away. And
Wow.
she came to me and said, I can't sing anything now. She said, I can't squeeze and push like I used to, but I don't know what else to do instead. And I said, I am so sorry. I am so terribly sorry. I sincerely apologize to you. I did not intend for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I have tried to get you to do too much too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with her, and we worked, she was kind enough to keep working with me, and I got her to a better place, but I never forgot that. So that was one of the reasons why in somatic voice work, we wait for the bus. We wait until the throat says it's ready. And I warn people ahead of time, look, this is going to disrupt things a little. Are you okay with that? Do you have any pending performances? Because if you do, we're going to go very carefully and not disrupt what you already do, since you have gigs coming. And so that was really a big
Wow.
aha moment for me, very, very humbling. And
So wait for the bus, don't call the Uber.
yeah, wait for the bus. And then don't, just because I knew what I was doing and I was getting her there, but I didn't take in that it was maybe more, it was quicker than she could handle.
Right.
And so
Right.
I emphasize go slow with somatic voice work, because then you can always, you going conservatively. Maybe the artist is in a hurry, but you can say, well, let's just let that happen on its own over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think that probably there have been things, especially in the beginning, that I did not understand as well as I do now, which I wouldn't say are big, flashy train wrecks. But when I look back and I think I was always teaching as best I could, but I was very heavily influenced by my classical training about what I thought was good and acceptable. And then I was graced with working with people like you, like Dominique, who were jazz artists, and I had no exposure to jazz singing. And I could see, I was able to be a witness, an observer, and go, what are these people doing? This isn't what classical singing is. This isn't even what music theater singing is. What is this? And then I would ask, what is it that you want to, how do you want to sing here? And then I would have to go and think about it. And of course, I would always try it out on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually learned from all of you. I learned from my students, not to assume just because I was classically trained and I had a high voice that I could teach everybody everything. And in exploring, experimenting, and doing a lot of trial and error, checking in with people, I began to, the patterns began to emerge. And this is why in somatic voice work, I noticed, okay, I'm working with more or less high level singers. Even if they were recent college graduates, they still were competent artists. Why is it that all these jazz singers have so much stiffness in their tongue? It can't be an accident. I mean, they can't all have the same problem. Oh, must be the jazz itself. Ugh, duh. And then I began to look at, oh, all the belters have a different kind of tension in their tongue. It's in a different location and functions a different way. That can't be an accident. So as I observed different kinds of singing and different kinds of singers who were not beginners, so you can't attribute anything to the beginner, I began to realize, oh, it's the music itself that causes this. And it's not a bad thing. It's just how that is.
Mm-hmm.
And that also was the philosophy that nobody I had ever encountered talked about. And so, like, if you are a soprano and all you ever do is sing in your head register, chest register not only becomes difficult, it can become impossible. And so you can't say to somebody like that, do this in your speaking voice, because their speaking voice is like that. Oh, but I am speaking to you in my speaking voice. And so each of the styles emerged over a long period of time, like 10 years, of that this is not individual tendencies. And then somebody pointed out maybe 20 years ago, we tennis players often get tennis elbow. It doesn't mean they're bad tennis players. It's just a side effect of being a tennis player. And this is true in many sports. There have tendencies, football totally ruins the knees. And, a ballet dancer ends up with messed up hips. These are not indications that the person is singing poorly. It's just a side effect of the tendencies that the music calls forth from artists. And that, I still don't hear other people talk about that, but I think that that's a very important thing to know.
I'd love to jump in there on that, Jeanie. When I met you, I think it was 2002, because I was at the first institute in
Virginia.
2002.
Yeah.
And I have Luciana to thank for that meeting, and also for introducing me to Theo. Forever grateful for both of those beautiful connections. And when I look back at, what was going on in 2002 all the way to now, I'm wondering for you, when you look and see all that you have accomplished, what markers can you point to of what has really changed since you began this work?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I created the term contemporary commercial music. And in the year 2000, I stood up as the opening speaker for a conference here in New York at Mount Sinai Hospital, sponsored by the New York Singing Teachers Association. And I said, I am not going to call what I do non-classical singing. I teach non-classical singing. I thought, that's just stupid. Who says, well, I teach non-medicine, I teach non-law? Nobody does that. That's just stupid. I'm going to call it what it is, contemporary commercial music. And a lot of people objected, oh, nobody knows what that is. It's a stupid title. I don't care. Nobody has to agree with me. Well, fast forward 24 years, it's now a very accepted term in the National Association of Teachers of Singing, and also in many other countries, certainly in Australia. It allowed us to break away from the whole non-classical and to see this music for its own integrity. So why does a gospel singer have to be compared to an opera singer? They had nothing in common in terms of their roots and their origins. And why does a jazz vocalist have to be compared to a classical singer? Jazz emerged on its own. And so, yes, there are some overlaps. Obviously, Western music theory is what it is, but there is no basis to look at the music as if it were not good because it's not classical. So that's one big thing. Another thing is that the schools are now a little more open to a variety of things, which wasn't so true before. And there is a little bit more room for recognizing the appropriate appreciation of the styles. So again, do we need to compare Sarah Vaughan to Marilyn Horne? Why? But in an academic world, that might be something that gets brought up, because Marilyn Horne was a low voice and Sarah Vaughan was a low voice. And so if you want to look at it objectively for acoustic evaluation, that's fine. But if you want to say one is better and one is worse, no, that's not okay. So that's another big deal change. And I'm just about to start the very first ever study on amplified singing, because 95% of the people in this world who make money from singing do so with a microphone. And yet, if we go to voice science and we look up voice science research for singing and what is the impact of the whole sound amplification system on vocal production, there is no research. So I finally decided the only way we're going to get it is if I do it. So we are about to launch the study, probably by spring, which will allow us to begin, and it's going to be a long process of finding out what that is in all the different aspects that it exists. So you all know, because you sing through amplification, how important your microphone is, your monitor is, your speakers are, the engineer that you deal with, how much that can impact your performance, even though you're all highly skilled vocalists who really know your voices. If the electronic interface is off, you're stuck in a performance. And all performers have at least one experience like that. But if I want to refer you to research or to any kind of science, there is none. And audiology is separate from vocology. So your ears are over here. Nobody talks about hearing, and your voice is over here. Eh? You can't sing what you can't hear. Deaf people born without hearing don't sing, often can't speak. And yet there is never a discussion about the impact of how and what you hear influences what you can do in your throat. And I'm going to change that. I am.
Go, Jeanie. Jeanie, I had a question for you, if I may, about surprises. What has surprised you about your journey professionally and also personally? If you could just point us to two things.
I'll tell you the biggest surprise, Luciana, is that I've been doing what I've been doing for 53 years. That is the most amazing thing to me, because I don't understand where 53 years went. And I never actually sat down and said, I'm going to be this big deal singing teacher. It was never on my life list. So it's a surprise to me that I'm doing what I'm doing, and that I still really love it, and that it's always new. Anytime I work with anybody for the first time, it's always exciting, it's always interesting, it's always important, it's always the person is giving me their most valuable possession, and I have to treat it with great respect and care. And I find that it is also surprising that it's ever new. And how come it hasn't gotten old? Now, I am retiring from the Institute because the Institute's a big responsibility for me. And I have had health issues. I am 75. I have other things going on. And to continue to put my whole heart into it has been more difficult. But I don't think I'll ever tire of the human voice and of the wonder of a human voice. To, when I try, whenever you guys are in New York, to come and hear you, and I just sit there in awe, like, oh wow, listen to that. Sometimes I'm so moved, I'm weeping, and that's a tremendous gift and a surprise. It's like, wow, I'm doing that. And I don't really feel it's funny, but I don't feel like a self-satisfaction in a sense of I'm a big deal. I'm a big deal. It doesn't occur to me to think that. What I think is, gosh, how lucky I am. I recently heard a young woman perform at the benefit for Meredith Monk, which she has every year. This young woman, when she was in high school, was a student at the Brooklyn Youth Chorus when I was a singing voice specialist. And she's now out there having a very nice career as a jazz pop singer. So on the break, I went up to her and I said, do you remember me? And I told her, as I'm Jeanie LoVetri. And she said, oh, of course I remember you. Oh, how could I forget you? And, this is 25 years ago when she was very young. And that's also a surprise. There's a young woman on Broadway right now who studied with me, which was 14, 15, 16, who's a Tony winner, tremendous career. To see them when they were fledgling babies and now they're stars in their own right in their field. That is a surprise in a wonderful way as well. And I do still have a golly gee whiz part that goes, golly gee whiz, they started with me. kind of
And
thing.
I have to say that being in the room with you, I'm always in awe of your ability to listen, as I said, your curiosity, but also your ability to be so present and so surprised. I actually see you learning, and that has been inspiring to me as a teacher. I could see that you are listening to me and proposing, exercises and things, and then I see you go, oh, let's go this way, or let's do this. What if we, like you're trying and learning as you go constantly. Although you figured out a million things, you're still open and humble to that possibility of learning and growing. And that to me is just a gift that you give me as a student, but as a teacher also. And thank
You
you so
know,
much for that.
I try to be very careful about what I say, particularly when I first meet somebody. I think before I say anything because I'm the authority figure. And this is something so personal, the voice. So if you make a flippant or condescending remark or you pass it offhand, you can't undo that. I mean, later, as I get to know people and they get to know me, I might open my mouth and insert both feet. I do that, but I don't start there. And um, I can be very direct, as those of you who know me know that I can just say, well, Theo, that's not a very good vowel. But I try to be careful about choosing my words because, again, this is a metaphysical concept. It's true in many, many religions. We want to always tell the truth. We want to tell it with compassion. We want to honor our own word. So if I promise, I have to keep my promise, or I have to go explain why I didn't keep my promise. That means that your words have more weight. They become more valid. Because when the truth is discounted, then the reality is also affected negatively. So the challenge is always, how can I be truthful in a kind way? And I try not you. If you came to me and I always just said to you, "Oh, you sound great. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that was terrific. Oh, I love that. Oh, you're not doing anything. I can't fix it. It's fine." You wouldn't have stayed because you, as artists and many other people who are of your caliber, they don't want me to just yes them. Billy too. I mean, I've been very hard on Billy. Why? Because Billy's extremely talented and very intelligent. So I have to be honest. I have to say, that could have been a little better. And then we go figure that out.
Jeanie, I want to ask about the future and how your work goes forward. I can speak for myself. I have all of our lessons on cassette, mini disc. God knows how I'm going to listen to those anymore, and on digital recordings. And I've transcribed a lot of those. I have them as exercise plans and why is this. I just want to speak to one thing that you said earlier. There's a lesson that I keep working with where I ask you, why did we do this? And you were completely stumped because you were in the zone. You were not thinking, you were doing it. And it was very intuitive. And you were like, wait, Theo, I have to stop. Because I felt that we had to go there. You were correct, of course. But it's a testimony to you not thinking, but doing it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to everybody? So,
Yeah.
but that being said, how do we as the students or people that are learning your ways, how do we carry it forward? And how do you protect the quality of that work? We had a discussion about that, and I want you to speak to
Well,
that.
because I'm going to retire from the Institute, I have to trust that the faculty who has come to this work of their own choosing, by their own volunteer efforts, and who do not get paid in any way, shape, or form in a way that's worth what they bring. We are in a nonprofit situation, so they're not coming there for the money. Will carry on the work with the highest integrity to the best of their ability. And that is okay with me. And that's true for you and Luciana and Kate and Billy and everybody else that has worked with me long enough to understand the principles. I have to trust that you're going to do the best you can with it, and it will go on its own. And one of the reasons why somatic voice work is not extremely rigid is because I know that in the other methods, you have to do it this way, you can't do it that way, you have to make it like this, and you can't go like that. The human beings aren't that way, especially not artists. Everybody's going to use it the way they use it. The main thing is the integrity of the work. And honestly, the people who have devoted themselves to the work, in my experience, have the highest level of integrity that I could ever ask anybody to have, because it is reflected in their work. If somebody gets up and does a performance that's from their heart, honest and authentic, they're also going to teach that way. And I have to trust that. But I do have one regret, and it's actually a very big regret. And I had to actually confront that. No one has done any research on anything in somatic voice work. And I feel like I wish I'd been able to see that sooner. To me, it's a tremendous loss, because when I go to the conferences, all the other people who have methods, they have research, they have papers, they have publications, they have people who've gone into a lab and they've studied this and they studied that. And I have nothing. And I've had a number of people over the years who go on to complete a doctoral degree in colleges, who promised that they were going to use somatic voice work and develop it and get a degree and blah, blah, blah. And every single one of those people did not do that. They did not try to establish any kind of scientific basis for the work as a method after they got into their program or when they finished it. So if there's anything that I regret, that's what I regret. And I wish I'd seen that sooner. But in trying to come to some sort of peace about completing with the Institute, and I will, still be a consultant and have I try to help it go on without me for at least a few years more. I wish that I had asked people to research, because if these other methods, which are far less structured than mine, can be researched, mine could have been too, then maybe in the future people will do that. But it's hard, really hard, to know that it hasn't been done thus far. So
That sounds like we need to form a committee, a research
Yes.
committee.
Sign me up.
yeah, well, I mean, it is possible to do research, but you have to know how you have to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
And it has to be structured under certain circumstances to be valid. And it's not impossible to find that out, but it's easier if you are in a university that does research, that's part of a research facility.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, thanks for sharing that grief that you have around that, and I that is something that I feel like that will flower, and something will come forward of that, even if it hasn't right in this moment. I believe it will, Jeanie. I wanted to ask you about, I've had in my relationship with you over this past 22 years, some really magical experiences or feelings of like that you were channeling, divine healing and really helping me in some moments when I couldn't make any sound and had to go out and perform at a sold out show or do something. And I have been thoroughly astonished, and it stayed with me, the power of your connection with spirit and with the body and with yourself and with the student, and in such a mysterious way. And I've just was curious if you have, in all of the decades of experience of teaching, any particular moments where you really were astonished yourself with something that happened as you were teaching. I was just curious about that.
Oh, I've had so many of those moments, Kate. I can remember working with somebody and just somehow in the middle of the lesson, the voice just let go, opened up. And both of us knew it. And this incredible sound just emerged. And the student was weeping and I was weeping. And you couldn't help but weep. It was so amazing and beautiful. And I've had many experiences like that. I remember I was working with someone who was a faculty member up at Berkeley, professional singer, high level, who was having a lot of trouble with her neck, just parts of her neck. So we did some work and I kind of rebalanced everything. And at the end of the session, she said, "Oh, gee, I feel so much better. Like even my neck doesn't hurt." The next day, she contacted me and said, "Not only is my neck not bothering me, but my jaw is not bothering me, and I have no problems vocally. Everything just went blip, 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 blip." It was like we got to the place of the balance point, and it just went, and then the body took over and went by itself. And I've had that happen with a whole bunch of people where I feel a kind of awe to watch that take place in front of me and sit there and watch the body say, yes, now I can go where I want to go. That's happy for me. And it's always in some way about balance, a balance in all the factors, the breathing, the posture, the alignment, the coordination, the tone, the vowels, the pitches. And also it's awe-inspiring to see people who are already professionals, a very accomplished career, and 10 years later their range is twice as much. They can go many more different kinds of sounds. I recently saw I had the great honor to see Luciana at Dizzy's here at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola, and she sang every kind of vocal quality there is to sing. She was in and out of chest and mix and head and high and low and dark and breathy and clear. Oh, brother. And I thought, yeah, like that.
But I have to share that a couple of days before you saw me, I had been traveling, had been on the road, and you taught me a lesson. I was in a hotel room and I booked a lesson with you, and you were kind enough to make time for me. And the first 15 minutes of our lesson had nothing to do with voice. They were not about talking. You guided me through a meditation, opening my chakras and guiding me because I was very fatigued. I was singing every night on the road. And you just said, let's just exactly rebalance the body, open things up. And then we went into vocalizing. And I really had been incredibly fatigued vocally. And I felt so well. So like I wanted to just keep singing for hours. And all we did was about 40 minutes of a vocal warm up. But the first 15 minutes had been just something so beautiful that you did. And I'm
Well,
just,
and another factor that I never talk about, never, is that I know I have had many past lives working with voice and sound and healing in many different parameters. Now, I realize some people don't believe in past lives, and if you don't, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you, but I do believe that we have many other lives, and I have seen myself in all kinds of, male bodies, female bodies, all kinds of bodies, working in different cultures, using voice and sound and healing. And I know I brought that with me. And so sometimes it's unexpressed, but it's always behind me somewhere, that the energy of the sound. And, in the Christian Bible, it says in the beginning was the word, and the word was made flesh. And in the Hindu scriptures, it says in the beginning was the sound, and the sound was made manifest. And in science, we know that things began with a big bang. So sound is the essence of every vibration in the universe, and each person has their own vibration. So as we can find, I guess, the mantra of this incarnation, the sound vibration of this incarnation is what is the purpose for you in your life, then that which we do emerges from that. And I try not to dwell on that too much, because I know that I have people of many faiths here, many different religious beliefs, which I want very much to respect. and I don't want to convince anybody of anything, but this was my experience. And the timelessness of sound, which happens, outside of time, is what carries us. And so when we're sitting silently and listening and looking and listening and looking, that which is inside will be outside, and that which is outside will be inside. And that isn't so much something you can teach as so much as it's something you can discover. And I think a lot of the people who are drawn to this work do that. They just somehow do that and are in touch with that in themselves, because that's also part of their artistry. And so, we're not going to be, study with us and you get 3 lessons and then you can win American Idol. We're not that. And that would make me very unhappy. Not that I don't want people to win contests, I do, but that's not the motive for the work.
But for the record, some somatic voice work teachers, their students have won The Voice and things like that. So we can also do that.
We can also happily do that.
Jeannie, I have a question.
And we have right here, we have Grammy nominees and Grammy winners. I think that's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I had a question for the panelists, and just sort of to celebrate, what keeps you coming back to somatic voice work and coming back to Jeannie's work, as you're all such established artists and, expert teachers in your own right. Why do you keep up a mentorship with Jeannie? Why do you keep learning and going back to the work? Oh, Theo, I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. For me, it's out of necessity sometimes. Sometimes I run myself into a corner, or I'm fatigued and I cannot get out of it. And there's only one person in the world that can help me. And just like Luciana described, sometimes you're on the road and you're like, what is going on? I cannot do this thing that I'd normally do. And there's only one person that can help you. And it's scary, because I feel like I'm somewhat dependent on Jeannie in my biggest crises, which have become fewer and fewer and further apart. But as I recently had a very serious infection, the RSV flu, and it really affected my voice. Jeannie, I could do this performance that was extremely demanding because of Jeannie. So I come back to her, I learn, and I save myself. She saves me. Kate, Lou, anybody?
Yeah, I can jump in. One of that same for me, the demands of the road and of the different kinds of music that I sing sometimes confound my voice, as it's, I'm 61 and it continues to change as I age. And I find that the principles of somatic voice work but also just being with you, Jeannie, as you connect with your intuition and follow that is something that I only get through being with you and through watching you teach. And that's why I never tire of seeing you teach, and take every opportunity I can to observe, because I'm just watching that energy thread happen. And I do feel like that has influenced me a great deal. I've seen, it's not on the same level as what you're doing, but absolutely having really beautiful opening experiences of helping clients' voices flower and find their true essence. What is their sound? And find their way through areas where they've either been pushing or trying to do something that wasn't how their voice was made, or if it's been compacted or in some way squished like that, helping it to open and get stronger and balanced. And it always does come back to this question of balance. And so many of the principles that you have developed and elucidated for us are the bedrock that I keep coming back to. That's right. what are you hearing? You're hearing imbalance, and then the weakness or the constriction is on top of that. So you can't address the constriction without, it's like go back to the source. And there's just so many different principles that you have developed and unveiled that to me I'm just going to be doing this until I die. So thanks for that.
Amazing. I think I could say everything that Theo and Kate said, but also for me, I think the honesty that you bring to what you do is something that I find incredibly inspiring. I want to keep going back to drink from that source of honesty. It is your intuition, but it's also, listen, you're faced sometimes with the impossible task, of helping someone in the situations that Theo has found himself, Kate or myself, crying from a dressing room, and I've done that from very, very high prestigious places. Jeanie, I can't make that note, and so you have this impossible job, but for me, listen, you changed my life. That's why I keep going back to, I'm one of the lucky people. I've been taught by some of the greatest teachers in the world. I've met and performed and recorded and done music with some of the greatest legendary musicians. So I know a good thing when I see one, and I would never let go of you, because you are one of those people that if you are lucky to bump into someone like you and to be taught by someone, why would I go anywhere else? And so people come to me to study with me, and I send them to you. I say, no, I'm a nothing. Go study with the source. While you are alive, which I hope happens for the next 50 years that I'm alive, I'm going to be coming back to you, and everyone that studies with me that I feel I can't help or quickly enough or whatever, for whatever reason, I will always send them to you, because that's it. You're the light. There is a sun shining, and it's you, and I want to be bathed by this sunshine. That's Jeanie LoVetri wearing the beautiful colors of fire and light today. I mean, that's it.
Well, I have 4 planets in the North Node in Aries, and I have Libra rising and Cancer midheaven and a Gemini moon. So for anybody that knows astrology, that tells you a little bit about my natal chart. And the Ram is very persistent. I am a very persistent Ram. And you can ask my poor beloved husband, Jerry, what that's like to live with all the time. And thank God he's a very patient soul. But that has also been it's made it possible for me to keep pushing past all of the negativity that has come my way. Kate and I had a conversation once in which she pointed out to me how many times in my life I've been betrayed. And of course, everybody gets betrayed in their life, but this has happened to me quite a bit. And I just sort of didn't even notice it until she pointed it out to me. And I've also been attacked and maligned and publicly mocked and criticized for some of the ideas that we've been talking about. And I'm a relative, even though I'm a loudmouth, bombastic, rare Aries Ram, I'm also a very sensitive person, and that has always hurt. And the unfortunate situation of how I left the last university was extraordinarily painful to me, and I had to spend a long time recovering from that. But I did recover, because if you identify with the I am, that is I am, that is to say that it's not the little self or the personal self, with that which is the spark of the divine within for everybody, then nothing can touch you permanently. And you can choose to work it out and work it through and let it go and go on. And so that is my choice that I make. And that I failed just like everybody else at that. Sometimes I fail badly. But then once there was a little old ram, thought she'd punch a hole in the dam. I get back on and I start punching that dam again.
And we're better for it.
I get back and try again. And so as I let go of the Institute, I retire from the Institute. It's now 22 years I've been teaching the original CCM Vocal Pedagogy Institute. I'm hoping to do this research on amplified singing. I really believe that's going to open up an entire new field of research all over the planet. Not tomorrow, but I think this is going to bring in a lot of young people who have not had, how much more can we study opera, for heaven's sakes? You know, they've been studying opera for 50, 60 years. Okay, enough already. We know what opera is. Let's take a look at everything else out there that people do. I recently brought up beatbox singing, inhalation phonation, noise phonation, and this was a professional meeting of teachers of singing. I was told by one of the other members that I had insulted her. So I stopped talking. It was very hard moment. And then subsequently, over the next few days, 3 people contacted me to basically tell me to take it easy, chill, not push so hard. And I was not pushing hard. And I finally said, you know, I can only be who I am. I'm an Aries Sicilian. I'm never going to be this nice, quiet little person who's going to say, excuse me, if you don't mind, I'd like to raise this. And so if I have had to, if you can't take the heat, don't go in the kitchen kind of thing. And what has kept me not giving up is people like Luciana and Kate and Theo and Billy and all the rest of my faculty and all the great artists who have worked with me over the years. That's what gets me back up every day and say, all right, let's go on. And I mean, I've told Kate this, and I think also Lou and Theo, I do have another regret, and that is that I wanted more than anything on the whole of my life to be a professional singer out there singing. I wanted to be paid as a singer and to be out in front of an audience singing. And although I did have a career, it was not an illustrious career. And I never really got to fulfill that dream. So in some ways, when I think about that, I feel like my life has been a sacrifice in a good way. And I identified with the movie Field of Dreams. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but you know, Kevin Costner builds a baseball field outside in his cornfields, and one of the characters is Shoeless Joe, and it's played by Burt Lancaster. And I was in a workshop once where we had to watch that movie, and he in the movie he is a young man. He's a very dynamic player, but as an older person, he was a doctor. And one of the little girls watching on the bleachers as the team is playing falls off the bleachers and gets hurt. And he looks at the players and he looks at the little girl, and he walks out of the field and turns into his old man self so he can help this little girl who's been injured as a doctor. And when I saw that scene, I burst into tears. And I thought, oh, that was my choice. I made that choice. I have continued to make that choice. So even though he was Shoeless Joe and he was going to be this greatest baseball player that ever was, he chose to be a doctor and to offer that service. So when I feel bad about the fact that I didn't get to be up on the stage singing, I remind myself about that movie and that scene, and about all of the other great privileges that I have had in my life as a teacher, someone who didn't ever intend to teach anybody anything. And I think, you know, there's a lot to be grateful for there. And I try every day to be grateful.
That's amazing. So Jeanie, Theo has a little surprise for you, but it actually involves a surprise to the audience too, because you are all going to participate. So Theo, what we're going to do is we are going to unmute everybody, and Theo's going to give some very brief instructions, and then we're all going to join in. So,
Yeah.
Oh, my.
All
right, everybody, you're
at
gonna
the very end. I will instruct you when we get there. It's going to be 1.5 minutes long. So.
All right.
so everyone, you'll unmute yourself and stay silent until Theo says it's time to sing.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, you can tell by the way I use my voice. I'm a Jeanie guy, and ain't that noise? I sing low, I sing high. If I can get stuck, she's right by my side, and so it's alright. It's okay. and I live by the Jeanie way. I'll try to spread
Oh, jeez.
and understand the Genie's method across the land. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're coming alive, coming alive. Feel your voice is changing and everybody's raving. Your singing's alive, singing's alive. Jeanie, Jeanie, singing's alive, singing's alive. Jeanie, Jeanie, singing's alive, singing's alive. Jeanie, join me.
Sing into life, sing into life, Jeanie,
Jeanie,
sing into
sing
life, sing into life, Jeanie, sing into life, sing into life, Jeanie, sing into life,
Jeanie, sing to life, to
Oh, that was so cool.
Oh, gee, that was so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
This is from all of us. We can't sing in sync together, but there we have it.
That's all right. I mean, that was probably the best use of a group sing in Zoom ever. So wonderful.
All right, now one
Delay,
logistics thing. I have to
delay.
mute everybody, and then we'll unmute our. Okay, 1 second. Just button. Okay. Okay, and now panelists unmute again. Otherwise, that would be interesting. That was so awesome. Thank you, Theo.
Wonderful, Theo. Thank you so much.
All right, we've probably got about time for 2 more questions before we go to Jeanie is somehow going to teach after all of this beautiful
Yeah.
sharing of her soul. So I guess, I'll open it up to the other panelists for the next question.
Billy, there's people that have written in the chat. Do you think you want to have anybody going to look at those questions?
I've sort of been keeping track, and a lot of the questions are ones that we can sort of like tag on closer to the end, because they're like sort of more logistics type questions.
Okay.
Jeanie, I have a question for you about, I know you mentioned a little bit in the beginning about you sort of don't know what's going to happen, but in an ideal world, how would you see the next 35 years?
Oh, well, no, I want to see this research get going.
Right.
And I think it'll open up a vast new field of authentic expression of science for singing.
Mhm.
And I have to finish the book I promised to
Right.
Compton Publishing, which has gotten delayed because of my hip surgery and COVID. So it's now 4 years this patient man has been waiting for me to finish that book and then revise the course materials. And then if I still have more time on this planet, I would like to go back and perform a little bit, even if it's just for fun. So I was thinking about taking an improv class or an acting class. I can't dance anymore, which I was totally, it was our hobby. Jerry and I would do ballroom dancing, and I've lost my ability to sing. I've lost my ability to dance. Those are my 2 great loves in the world. But I can still make a singing sound, so that's a little different. And some people can't, they lose it altogether. And I could see myself trading the dancing for some kind of acting, or go back and take classes in some kind of performing, just to get the rust off. And if I get to a place where I feel like I'm reasonably competent, maybe even audition for something, go try to be in a small part in a sitcom or something.
LA, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Moving to Los Angeles.
I would love to be. I look at there's an actor here named Jane Houdyshell, who didn't get discovered until she was in her late 50s, and she now has a major career. And I think, well, I'm past that, but you never know. And I am always encouraging people that if your body is responsive to your brain and your mind, which we know it is, age is not a factor as much as motivation and commitment. So I've worked with a lot of older singers who have gotten a lot better just because they've worked on it. And so the body responds to exercise. So I thought, well, that sort of out there somewhere, that maybe you'll come and see me perform. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my God. Yes, I'm coming.
We'll
I'll have
be
to-
there front row
You'll have
center.
to get the Joe's Pub to let me sing at like 1 o'clock in the morning somewhere.
Done. 1 o'clock, 7 p.m. Noble set for Jeanie LoVetri. This is a front row. There you go.
Singing the perfect
Oh, I don't
ah.
know. But that's what's in my mind. And then Baldwin Wallace has kindly arranged for us to be able to move the Institute outside of Baldwin Wallace, in addition to being at Baldwin Wallace. So we may be able to find other colleges that would host us. And I might be able to come in and do guest teaching at another school so that we can bring in somatic voice work to different universities. By the way, if anybody watching has a university that might be open for level 1 or level 2, 3, the whole thing, that could happen because the school is willing to do that for me. And not all schools would do that, but they're extremely kind there. And also, the live streaming was not possible because of the college own limitations. And I completely understand that. I'm not complaining, but it would be nice to have had the opportunity to do live and live streaming. And I know that some schools can handle that. So that would be another opening that could maybe show up. And
So it's quite a retirement so far. I'm getting
Yeah, not a type A
just a
retirement at
hint
all.
of like slowing down, right? Okay, let's see.
the spirit is very willing. The body is maybe not so willing,
The
but
body is going to have a little more time to take care of itself.
Yes.
yes. And
Changes are
docuseries
coming.
on Netflix, please.
the whole idea of being in touch with your body is to try to notice when your body's going, excuse me, no. And I am trying to do that instead of push it and force it. And then I know it just breaks down.
Well, Jeanie, I just want to say that you are part of our lives in a way that no performance, no singer, nothing could be part of me, or I know Luciana and Kate for sure, is because you are building us from the inside out. We're not receiving something that we're receiving elsewhere. This is the most unique gift that you're giving us. So for that, I think you are quite extraordinarily higher in my pantheon of people than any performer ever will be.
Yeah. And can I just add one more thing? Because you know how much I love to talk, but how much I love you, really. But it's the word respect, which I didn't say to you. I think that what keeps coming back, Billy, is that I always felt from the moment I came into your room for the first time with my very tense tongue and clenched jaw and, all my Brazilianism and my tiny little, head voice that, you know how much work we've done together over the last, I don't even know, 25 years or more that we've been together, I've been with you, is that I always felt respected. I felt not only heard, but respected. You accepted me, my curly hair, all my things, my idiosyncrasies, all of it. And you worked from where I was. You met me where I was and you brought it all out. And you keep doing that time and time again. You really don't cease to be an inspiration for me in so many ways. And you've affected my life. You've seen me through marriages and divorces and the birth of my child. All of it. My life has changed tremendously, and you've witnessed it all. You've respected every choice I've made artistically, and you've stayed alongside, just accompanying me and guiding me in a way that, I've lost parents and I've been with you through that. I mean, both my mom and dad, and I've birthed a child, and you have been the constant compass, really the shining light. And I cannot say enough. I would not be, I had so many other things I needed to do today. I cannot tell you, but I really, when that came up, that email, like there's a celebration for you, I would have stopped everything. If I had the time, I would have taken a plane and have been sitting next to you in New York, drinking something amazing that Jerry would have put together for me. With olives in it.
I know you guys all know this, but I have to make a specific acknowledgement for Jerry, because Jerry is I don't know. He's like everything that you could ever want in terms of a helpmate. And he's going to be 85 in November. He's amazing. We just came
Cute
back
as
from
a button.
Philadelphia. He carried all the
Handsome
suitcases.
as ever. Look at that man.
Carried the suitcases up. He helps me when I go anywhere. He's right there. He's patient. He's funny. And yes, of course, we're both older. We both have aging issue things, but I would be totally lost without him. And he doesn't get any credit, and he doesn't ask for any credit. He never stands up and says, "Look at me, I'm the good husband." Never. He's the most humble man. And I think it would be remiss of me to have this wonderful celebration from all of you, not to say thank you, Jerry, for everything you give me every day.
Well, thank you so much for that. One of the first things she told me when our relationship started was I grew up believing that I couldn't sing. In fact, I should sing if I was in a group, sing very low so nobody would hear me. And she said, "Nope, you're in a relationship with me. You're going to sing." She had me join her ex-husband's chorus, where I've sung in for, what, 20 years at least. And, you know, that's what happens when you marry a Sicilian dynamo.
Yeah,
And
he learned to sing at 60 years old after a whole lifetime of being told shut up. And it's not like it's something he spends hours a day doing, but he does like it, and he can sing along with the radio now, and it's nice. It's nice. And he helped me with my research, because when I was first doing research and I was with him, he would say to me, "No, honey, you can't say it that way. You can't write it like that. You have to write it like this in research." And he said, "No," and he pointed out some statistics in the research that everyone else had missed. He said, "Look, you're not seeing this." And I'm like, "Wow, you're right." And his background of 41 years as a pharmaceutical chemist doing research was extremely important for me to make sure that I was writing the research in a way that allowed it to be published. And so we've kind of cross-pollinated in that sense, which has been really nice. And I don't think he expected to sing, and I certainly didn't expect to do research, but that's where the universe took us.
he's a very good researcher now.
Oh yeah, I get to read these medical papers, the peer-reviewed medical papers, and I actually know what I'm reading. And I know the science, I know the medical, I know the clinical, not 100% by any means, but enough so that I can review them, and I can attend these meetings, and I don't sit there going, "What are they talking about?" I know what they're talking about. And that is on my own efforts. I didn't go back to school to learn how to do that. I taught myself. So I feel like that was also my commitment. It's like when I would just go, and now when I go to the medical meetings here, once in a while they say something I don't know, and I can lean over and go, "Dr. Corey, what is that? I don't know what that is." And they'll tell me. And then I learn that night something new. So as Luciana said, I'm always curious, like, what's the next medical thing? What's the next clinical thing? What's the next research that they're doing? So that I can pass it on to the students, and then they can pass it on to their students. And there's less likelihood that somebody saying something wrong or stupid is gonna harm somebody. We don't want to hear any harm.
This has been just so amazing. I just want to thank our panelists again so much for joining in this celebration of Jeanie, Theo, Luciana, Kate. Oh my goodness, what an absolute joy to hear your experiences and hear you share. And we can all gush over Jeanie together, which we could do for hours and millenniums. And
thank you all so much.
So now on to the next part of the evening. Jeanie, your original sound is still on, yeah?
I think so, but I'll check.
Good, just because we're about to. So now what's going to happen is Jeanie's just going to teach, because people are always just wanting to hear Jeanie teach more. So we've arranged for a couple of singers, and Jeanie's going to work with them. And so up first is Mercedes.
Okay. Hi, Mercedes.
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm in Vancouver.
Vancouver. And what kinds of stuff do you sing?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. Lately, a bit of theater, but it all has a bit of classical coloring to it. And
So were you
sometimes,
trained as a classical singer?
no, I wasn't. But for the past 9 months or so, I've been working with Raphael, who's on the call today, and she's been helping me find my voice and
Good.
my
Okay,
tone.
so do you have a song that you're going to sing for us today?
I do, I do. I'm gonna sing a minute of A Little Bit in Love from
Okay, and have you vocalized today? Are you warmed up?
yeah. I mean, I was sitting for the past hour and a half, but I should be good to go.
Okay, well, how about I warm you up a little bit more?
Okay, sure.
Then I can hear you.
Yeah.
Would you call yourself a high voice or a low voice?
Oh, I'm definitely a soprano.
Ha! Like me. A soprano. Okay. How about let's do Ooh,
Okay. Ooh.
Good.
Ooh.
Yeah, those are nice, Mercedes. As you go higher, drop your jaw a little bit, huh?
Okay.
Ooh.
Hey, Jeanie.
Yeah.
I think we're just having a small audio issue. If you can go to the, I'm just gonna pause.
Ooh.
Okay.
Good. And then take your time. Take a nice, good breath in. Good. One more. And as you breathe in, think that everything up here can just relax. That's good. That's fine. Let's come back down. Put the ooh first.
Okay.
Good, Mercedes. It's nice. Now, usually when I'm teaching and we have people watching, I like to give information to the people who are watching because a lot of them are teachers. So if I do that, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the first thing that I notice is that Mercedes' inhale is not particularly deep, right? So Mercedes, when you breathe in, ideally, it should sound like this. But without the sound. In other words,
Okay.
that's it. We don't want it to go and then sing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that is a very common behavior, and it's something we all do, but we have to think. Now I'll demonstrate. See, in that moment of that inhale, I'm actually taking time to inhale, which allows me to slow my breath down and get a little bit more air in my lungs. And that actually lets me breathe down into my lungs a little deeper. So let's do a few more of these. And you just think about taking more time and letting yourself breathe in as if you could go. And you take a little longer. Okay.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay.
lifting your upper body up.
Okay.
Think about moving in your middle, the area around your waist, moving open and out a little lower. That's it. That's good. Those are good. Those are good. That's a way to help your body relax a little bit more. All right, now let's hum.
Okay.
Good. Now stand up nice and tall so that you're not slumping. Get yourself up.
Jeanie, for some reason, I'm not sure what happened. Your audio is just a little bit funky again. Let's go back into your audio settings. Let's just see if we can fix this really quickly.
Okay.
I want you to switch the microphone. Can you unplug your Yeti and then plug it back into the computer?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, and the light's on the microphone?
Push that in a little bit more. Okay.
Good, and then go into your audio settings.
Yeah.
Is the Yeti selected right now as your microphone?
No, it still says MacBook Pro microphone.
Yeah, switch it to the Yeti.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and can you say something?
Hello, how are you? This is my microphone test. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and can you hold the speaker on your headset closer to your mouth so I can see if it's coming?
Okay. So here's the thing on my microphone.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Okay, that's good. And then can you go back to and switch your original sound back on up in the top right of your... It's on. Can you try playing the piano again?
Yep.
And singing? Yeah, it's a little bit better. Can you go back into your audio settings and just turn the gain up on your microphone?
On the Yeti? On the...
In the actual audio settings.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Now it's up about 7/8.
Yeah, try playing again and singing. That's better. Turn it up even more.
Nope.
Yeah, turn it back down because for whatever reason it's just cutting out. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm not sure what happened between sound check and now, but it's being a little bit funny.
Okay.
All right. Why don't you two just get back to the teaching?
It's possible that my background noise might be overriding something. If you want to mute me.
No, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's okay.
Okay.
I don't have automatically adjust microphone volume clicked. Did you want me to do that?
Keep that unclicked.
Unclicked. Okay. All right. So, Mercedes, we were humming. Let's go back and hum. And you see if you can slide up and down as evenly as possible.
Okay.
Right. So you want to hear yourself. So that's very connected. Good. So the coming down is not quite as even as the coming up. So think about that. Listen to yourself. That's better. That was really what we're looking for. Good. Now stand up nice and straight. You want to think that your sternum, which is this, is attached by an invisible string up to the ceiling so that it's not hanging. Okay? Okay, listen. So you don't want to hop, you want to slide. You got to do that every time. So now I'm going to ask you a question and you might not be able to answer it. And that would be okay. What are you controlling when you do this slide?
I don't know.
Right. Okay. So the first thing that you want to think that you're controlling is the pitches. You're controlling the sound of the pitches.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a mental thing. You know, you have to hear yourself go. It's because it's not out here. It's inside you. Okay. So do it again. Okay, the first one was good, but the second one was a little not there. Do it again. That's better. See, that gives you a different kind of control over the sound, which was we want. Good. Very nice. Now, how if we decide that we're going to go from 1 to 10, and 1 is quiet, very quiet, and 10 is very loud. How loud is this slide for you?
I probably around 7, and I say that, and I don't know how loud I'll get.
Oh, well, no, I mean what you just did. How loud would you say it was?
Probably around a 7.
Okay. Okay, so do it again.
Okay.
Now you're going to stand up nice and straight and think about how you breathe in. Right. So the goal is to be able to control all that deliberately every time. Yeah, do that one again. So, did you think that those were even?
Parts of it.
Yeah. So you want to go back and really make them even. Okay. Think about. You got to get through all those notes to get up there.
Okay.
Yeah. See, when you really concentrate on it, you do it fine. That's right. Good. Now you got to work on the ones, the slides down are a little bit not as good as the slides up. So really think about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mercedes, do. Just do that.
Sorry, could you do that one more time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's really obvious. Okay. That way we can hear it. I know mentally you're thinking it, but we have to be able to hear it as well. Okay. Now do. That's right. That's right. So when you really think about it and you're specific with yourself, your throat will follow your mind, which is great. Let's do one more. Right. Okay. So those are things you can practice. Let's just do one more and then you can do your song.
Okay.
Let's do ja, like you were saying yes in German. Ja, 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 ja.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
One more.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good. Now on that bottom note, can you open your mouth more and do ya?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it. Now take your time when you breathe and stand up nice and straight.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it. That was good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And one more.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good. Those are good. How do they feel?
It feels better.
Yeah,
I think
good.
I'm a little tense, but I'm loosened
That's
up
all right.
a bit.
Everybody gets nervous in this circumstance. It's a hard thing to be online like this. So is it okay? I have to say something else to the teachers. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So when you're working with a student, you have to keep track of how much they can keep track of their body and what they're doing with their body. Most beginners or people who have not had a lot of functional training don't keep very good track. They just don't. You don't blame them for that. You don't beat them up for that. But you have to keep guiding them back. And that means you have to be patient and you have to say, well, you didn't stand up straight. Oh, you didn't do this. Or how about remind the student to do this or that. And you want to help the student come back to their body, come back to their sound, come back to what they're trying to learn to control in a deliberate way. Because when we speak, we don't necessarily control the sound, we control the words, but they're not the same. Okay? Now, Mercedes, what are you going to sing?
I'm going to sing A Little Bit in Love for
Okay.
you. Okay.
All right.
Just set that started. I'm a little bit in love. Never felt this way before. Just a little bit in love, or perhaps a little bit more. When he looks at me, everything's hazy and all out of focus. When he touches me, I'm in a spell of a deep hocus pocus. It's so, I don't know, I'm so, I don't know, but I know if it's love, then it's lovely.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, good. That's fine. Now, you have a beautiful voice, and you're very, very expressive and nice and lovely. But this is an example of, first of all, I was surprised because the song starts with a slide. Well, that's a coincidence. I didn't know that. But you have to be more conscious and deliberate about your breathing. Okay. Yeah. Because if you just take in a conversational amount of air, like the amount of air you would take if you were just talking to somebody at dinner, that's not enough to sing a nice long phrase.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really help your body go into a place where your throat is more relaxed and open. So what are the words to the first part of this song?
I'm a little bit in love.
Okay. So what I want you to do is just take a breath. And okay. I want you to say, I'm a little bit in love, like that.
I'm a little bit in love.
Good. So after you do that, you have time, just a little bit of time to breathe in and go, never felt this way before. So say that.
Never felt this way before.
Right. So in the song, it says with charm. Being charming. So, and you can breathe there. I'm a little bit in love. And you have a chance to take a breath. Never felt this way before. So just sing that without the music for me.
Okay. I'm a little bit in love.
Get off, inhale, go on.
Never felt this way before.
Good. That's better. Okay. Now, in this kind of music, it doesn't really matter all that much about staying connected to the musical line. But if you were going to try to make that more of a phrase, never felt this way before, all as one thought. Never felt this way before. Never felt this way before. It's in between speaking and singing, not quite the same as speech, and not really like super classical singing either. But can you see if you can get yourself to sing "Never felt like this before"?
Okay.
From right there.
Never felt this way before.
Right. Well, that was one of the reasons why we worked on the slide, because if you really were going to put this together, there is a little bit of a slide sometimes in certain kinds of music, especially on the. That's the same slide as we were practicing when we did the warm up. And then the song is very repetitive, so you're going to do it again. Just a little bit in love. So sing the phrase there the third time.
Okay. Just a little bit in love.
Okay, now before just, did you take a good breath?
Probably could have been deeper.
Yeah, let yourself actually get off of
Okay.
get off the and relax and take a little more breath. Okay, do it again.
Just a little bit in love.
Yeah, that was it. That was perfect. But you got to do it so that you can do it every time. Okay? And then or perhaps a little bit more. So go and do that one.
Or perhaps a little bit more.
Good. Now, more is a long note. You can get off of more a little early so that when you come in on when he looks, and you have time to come in there.
Okay. Do you want me to go from more? Or
From when he.
Okay. When he looks at me, everything's hazy and all out of focus.
Good. Go on.
When he touches me, I'm in the spell of a strange hocus pocus.
Stop. That's way better. What was that like?
It's better. Relaxing into the breath in between phrases instead of being so quick with my breaths.
Yeah, you have to teach yourself to inhale deliberately. And there's more time than you think if you don't hang on to the last part of the note you're finishing. Get off of that note and make a space to breathe and then come in. Okay?
Okay.
Otherwise, it sounded really nice. And then the rest is about the performance of making sure that that you decide what you want to say.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Mercedes. It was wonderful to hear you. You sound just wonderful. So you keep working. You're going to get out there. I know it. Thank you, everybody. Applause for Mercedes. Yay!
Thank you, Mercedes. All right, next up we have Julia, because these are a little bit of, shorter master classes Jeanie is doing today. So Julia.
Yeah, Billy, I actually thought we were going later today, but we're not, huh?
We are already into our, we're doing 2.5 hours today.
Okay. So how many singers am I working with?
We have 3, so you've got 20 minutes with each one.
Okay. I didn't know we had 3. That's good to know. Okay, so hi, Julia.
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Ah, very nice. And what kinds of stuff do you sing?
I sing primarily jazz, and I also write my own stuff that is more in a pop vein.
Okay. Have you taken a lot of formal training?
I have been studying with Rachel Ann Williams for 2 years.
Okay.
And I have taken voice lessons off and on for really a long time, but pretty sporadically, and only, I would say, very seriously for the past 5 years. And I'm working really hard on my chest voice, but that's not what my voice wants to do. So I'm going to sing something today that sounds pretty bad. But
okay, I'll be prepared. I'll be prepared. Whoa, God. Okay. Did you warm up today?
I did, but I wouldn't mind more.
Okay, well, let's just do something short. Let's just do ah. Ah.
Ah, ah.
Yeah, now, Julia, when you think about this, be happy. Ah, I love to sing.
Ah,
What's it?
ah, ah, ah.
Good.
Ah,
Nice. One more.
ah.
Good. So Julia, I have the same request of you, which is, can I talk about you to the people who are watching?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm talking to you too, but I'm including them. So usually if you're working to develop the instrument, you need to develop both the chest register and the head register. So you need to explore the low pitches and the high pitches, because they actually help each other once they get established. And then along the way, as you do that, you're also looking at posture and breathing, making sure that the student understands how to inhale and how to use the exhale while they make sound. And also to check on the vowels, because we try to sing the vowels as in an undistorted manner as we can, knowing that as we go higher and lower, there are some changes that are going to take place acoustically, especially in the female voice, because of the laws of physics. When you're up high, you have to sing with your mouth open, or you don't sound very good. And that's not a particular thing to any given singer. That's just the way high voices. It could be a falsettist, a male falsettist would be the same. If you're up here, you gotta open your mouth. If you don't, then then you're doing some kind of a mechanical sound for its own sake. That's a choice, but that's not the place you live in. So Julia, let's do a little bit with your just coming in chest register, and
Sure.
let's do I love to sing that low.
Ah,
That's perfectly solid and good. Now slide a little more. All right,
ah,
controlling the slide is tricky.
ah.
Good. Now think about keeping your rib cage nice and steady.
Ah,
That's fine. Now how about that smiley ah?
ah,
That's it.
ah,
Good.
ah.
Nice, nice. Now, this is where we say we wait for the bus. We're just taking we're giving your body, your throat, your brain time to figure out, where am I? What am I doing here? How is this working? What's going on? So it's just a slow, steady repetition. And each time you have a chance to do it a little better and a little better and get a little more control and a little more control, so that we're assimilating this literally holistically, your brain, your throat, your body, your air, your posture over time. So actually your chest register is quite good here. So now we're just working to see, can we make it the same volume? Can we slide? Can you keep the vowel sound the same? These are the factors, like here's the ah vowel and the chest register, and then each of these is a factor that's part of that whole thing, okay? So you were doing okay. Good, and you control the volume all the way through to the end. Yep. Okay, so what's that like? Is that comfortable?
It's fine. It's pretty comfortable. Doesn't want to last very long at the end, but
That's okay. Well, then you have to gain a little more control over what you're doing with your breathing.
Mhm.
What do you work on in terms of breathing? What do you think about?
I think about breathing low. I've had some, I do think about using some pressure when I'm working on belting. But I have had some sort of contradictory information about the rib cage, and I feel like I've given up a little bit on thinking about it recently. But I have spent some time working on keeping my rib cage open as I'm singing. That was what a former teacher had worked with me on for a while.
Okay, so I think it's useful to understand why you want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, aside from the fact that somebody told you to do it and they're supposed to be more knowledgeable than you.
Yeah.
If your rib cage is open, that is to say comfortably lifted and expanded as a posture. Forget inhale, exhale, just the posture. You are maximizing the space for the lungs to expand. I mean, if you make a bigger frame, then the lungs have more room to take in air, right?
Yeah.
The lungs they go down into the rib cage and they're bigger at the bottom. So we try to inhale as if we were breathing toward the floor, because that's where the most amount of room is to take in the air. Okay. Now, if you leave yourself alone, Mother Nature says you inhale, the ribs go up and out. You exhale, the ribs go down and in. That's what Mother Nature says. But for singing, we don't do that. Yeah. We actually learn to keep the rib cage in a stable position, which is like playing a violin. It's a weird thing to do. Nobody's rib cage stays out when they exhale, but you can teach it to do that. And then you're strengthening the muscles in between the ribs, the intercostal muscles, so that inside the diaphragm can remain down, which you don't control, but the rib cage helps it stay put. Then the exhalation pressure comes from a deliberate use of the external abdominal muscles, all of them, but most particularly the one in the front, that's called the rectus abdominis. So your job eventually is to be able to take in a fairly deep breath and then hold on to it and not have the rib cage collapse, but instead slowly pressure the belly muscles to come up and in as you run out of air. That's really all you're doing. But your body doesn't have any reason to do that unless you practice it.
Yeah. I have practiced it a little, I have to say, but it's not enough recently. So
yeah, but you can't let it go, because as soon as you don't practice it, it goes away, because it's not a natural behavior. Yeah. You know, this is not a natural behavior. An arabesque is not a natural behavior. Yeah. Playing a high note on a trumpet is not a natural behavior. But we learn to do it so that it becomes natural. But as soon as you don't do it, it falls away. Okay. Now, jazz doesn't always demand that, but belting does. Yeah. So if you only do it once in a while, it's like if you went to the gym once every 2 weeks, it wouldn't do you too much good. Okay. So if you think that way, if you think of conditioning the machine to respond a certain way because you sing, then it can become second nature to you, but that takes time. Does that make sense?
It does, for sure.
Okay. So let's just run it once. Stand up as tall as you can, comfortably. Think that your rib cage is lifted and open because you lift it and open it. That's a postural thing. Inhale and try to breathe down toward the bottom of your rib cage and let your middle expand. Now hiss and keep your ribs up. So as you're hissing, ribs stay up, belly comes in, ribs stay up, belly comes in, ribs stay up, belly comes in, ribs stay up, belly comes in. And you keep doing that until you can't pull your belly in any more than you stop. Okay, because if you go past that, your ribs will collapse. You have no choice. Now, that has to happen automatically. And the only way that can happen automatically is if you do it and do it and do it and do it and do it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next thing is to control the exhalation pressure. So if I take a big breath, what my body wants to do is let it out hard at the beginning. Wants to do that. So now we're saying to the body, no, you can't do that. You're going to go, and you're going to actually hold back on that pressure and come in easy. That's also a peculiar thing to do. So how you work on that is to hiss, but make the hiss small. So you're going to do, it's not, it's very small. Okay. So try that. Right. Now, the longer you hiss, the more the body wants to exhale because it's collecting carbon dioxide and it doesn't like that. So this is a way, in a sense, you have to override that. Okay. Now, if you want to vary the pressure on that, then you have to vary the pressure in your belly muscles. So you can't see my belly muscles, but I can demonstrate using my hand. So I'm contracting my stomach up and in, which makes the hiss louder. And that is something you have to learn, because you can do just up here, but it's not the same. So you want to try that for me? Just hiss and then loud, soft, loud, soft. Okay, good. That was good. So when you think about it, you can do it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to practice that every day.
Okay.
Okay, I mean,
Okay,
it's all, that is all it takes. All right, now, you said you were practicing some belting, but you didn't have a strong chest register. So what kind of belting are you talking about?
Well, I can play the song if you want.
Okay, but let's just do one more. Let's
Sure.
do well, we're gonna go toward a belty place, like a mix toward belting.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. So sing that for me.
Okay, starting chesty. Starting.
No, just starting moderately loud, and let's see where you go.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Don't let your face fall down.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, am I holding the top note?
No, only if you want to. That's okay. Yeah, I love to sing.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so now your high note is in a kind of a light mixy place. Can you hear that?
Yeah, it all kind of feels like it's in my regular old mix, but I can try.
If you're gonna belt, you have to make it louder than that.
Sure. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does that have to do with what your belly pressure was?
Not much.
Not much.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh-huh. One more.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good. Now that's fine, except there's a lot of noise in that sound, right? Yeah. So we would like it to not have that much noise. Let's see if you can get the first note to be clear.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, that was the best one so far. That one really worked. Do it again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's right. So this is the same thing. If you don't practice this all the time, when you get up to sing the music, it's not necessarily going to just show up because it does, right? This was good. Try to stay right there and do it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, 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 yeah.
One more. Yeah, I love to do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good. Okay, so now let's have you sing your song.
Okay. All right. I'll come in chestier, but you can tell me to stop and start.
Okay.
And start mixing if you
Yeah,
want.
you always want to try to make a clear sound if you possibly can do it.
Yeah.
Noise is okay if you know what you're doing and you can do it as a choice, but not as a place to live.
Okay. Someone who should have held you, punished you when you were only small, because they hurt him, he hurt you. But you're your own, not like him at all. And I know it's been hard on you, baby. Don't bail on me. This was our parade. Did you think you could outrun your past just by driving too fast from all the mess we made? Now I see you smooth the wrinkles in your brow. You say, tell me, did I miss the point somehow? Where's the hurt and moving slow? Oh, oh. Maybe I won't repeat the belts, but it goes up to a C that I can't quite get.
Okay. Okay, so the problem with this in general is that everything you're doing is too relaxed.
Okay.
Okay. Think about if you were dancing and you were gonna lift your leg up in the air. Are you gonna be relaxed when you do that? No. You could be comfortable, and that comes with conditioning. I mean, here in New York, I used to, when I go to dance classes, and the dancers would have their legs up behind their head and they'd be having a conversation with another dancer. It was second nature to them, but they didn't start that way.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take your sound and you're going to go, ah, 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 you have to practice that sound because that's not where we talk. So if you just do conversational behavior, I'm going to sing to you from my conversational voice. I'm going to go down and go higher. Your throat goes, Okay. So this requires an energetic comfort level that's beyond conversational speech that you have to cultivate deliberately. Right? Okay. Now, I don't know what kind of lessons you've had. I don't know what kind of training you had, but that is the point of the training process from a functional place. You need to do that with the help of a teacher who understands function. Because the rest of it musically was fine. You did a nice job. It sounds good. It fits with the music. It expresses, I heard the words, it was good. But you can't just expect that C to come out if you can't vocalize there and your throat wanted to go to a headier mix. Okay. Now you could sing the whole song lighter and nobody would complain. So it's not like you have to belt this song. But if that is something you want to work on, you're going to have to put in the time to get the strength in the whole mechanism, the throat, the mouth, the back of the mouth, inside, the vocal cords, the breathing, because it isn't a natural sound.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Of course.
Oh, sorry, my cat is playing the piano.
Right. We like kitties that play the piano. He's helping.
Sorry about that little interlude.
Pussycats are always welcome. And kids, babies. All right, what are the questions?
So one question and a big frustration for me is that I feel like in between that, as fragile as it is, or maybe wanting to go headier, even between that place and my mix where I habitually sing, I feel like there's a middle that I can't get to. So that's actually
Well, you haven't
where
yet
I'm
gotten
really-
to. That's not, it's just like, you don't go to the grocery store and buy it off the shelf, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, oh, I
Is
can't
that-
find my
and-
mix. No, you have to work on it.
Yeah. But I have been working on this, and I have been working on chest hard for a while.
Yeah, but
I mean,
in
this made
whatever
me
way
a
you're
little
working
nervous.
on it, in some way you don't understand what you're doing,
Yeah.
or you're not doing exactly what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if you have done all this as work, it would be there. It would
Right.
be obvious. So
Mhm.
perhaps you're confused about what it is that you're doing when you're making it, when you're practicing. That could be.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's nothing wrong with not knowing where you're going. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
But this place, this ah has to be as easy as walking up the road. It can't be something that you're not quite able to do, but you can get to be able to do it if you do the repetition. You have to practice every day
Mm-hmm.
on this stuff. So the question is, have you done that?
Yeah, maybe not every day. A lot, but not every day.
And when you do it, do you know what you're asking your throat to do?
I thought so, yes.
Okay, well then show me. Here, start there and show me what you've been practicing.
On the up and down.
Anything you want. I don't care. Pick an exercise and show me what it is you practice.
Practice
Okay, so are those all the same volume?
That's a good question.
And why are you doing
Because it seems to be the easier one for me when practicing chest voice or chest mix.
How about like you got to do the bright ah? If you can't do the bright ah, the O's not going to take you where you need to go.
Okay.
Do ah. Okay, so that was better. Now, how much control do you have over that volume? Da 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 da. Ah.
Should it be the same volume or should it be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now do one more. The exact same pitches, the exact same way. Yeah, but that's not the same.
Yeah.
Not you went ha 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 ha. So this is where the drilling and the repetition and the accuracy and the concentration matters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can do it, Julia, but somebody's going to have to hold you to a tighter criteria so that you know that you know. You know that you know. I have to stop. But thank you for singing. Thank you so much. Keep working. Got a great voice. It's wonderful. Everybody, applause for Julia. All right, Billy, who's number 3?
All right, it is Bryn.
Hi, Bryn.
Hi, Jeanie.
And
Where
Bryn,
are
just want
you?
to make sure your original sound is on.
It is, yes. Thanks, Billy.
Awesome.
I'm in Portland, Maine.
Oh, okay. We went from Vancouver to Maine. That's pretty cool. What kinds of stuff do you sing?
Mostly musical theater.
Okay. And are you warmed up?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to hear you sing so I know what you sound like. So do E A R E A R.
E A R E A R.
Good. Now same thing with your ah. State ah, like you're happy about it.
E A R.
Better.
E A R.
Okay, so just do E twice. E.
E.
Okay, so E being getting the vowel sound that it is. If you don't make room inside, it doesn't sound so good because it doesn't have a lot of richness as a vowel. So you're going to need to think of making the E more E, E. Okay, so just
Okay.
do that. Right. It's not like there was anything necessarily wrong about what you just did. It's just this sounds better.
Right.
Acoustically, it's more efficient. Right. So it's the same thing as I said before earlier. Open your mouth. Good. 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 Okay, now let's do one more. Ya 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 ya, or you know, it's probably more ya 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 ya. Either way, just go up on ya.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so now the reason that high note is slightly flat is because the vowel's not going where it needs to go, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
One more.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's another one
Yeah.
that could sound better, but you need more space. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right. That just makes it warmer, which is more appealing. One more.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good. Now, sometimes your jaw moves and sometimes your tongue is doing the work. Yeah, 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 yeah. Make sure you do yeah, 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 yeah. Your jaw has to go with your tongue. Do it again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Better, but now you got to do that with your face too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, come on, throat. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was better. What did you think of that?
Yeah, as soon as I did the time before, I was like, oh yeah, there was nothing going on in my face.
Yeah, the trick to the face is yes, it changes the acoustics, but we're trying to talk to your soft palate, and it's going to respond mostly to your face. Oh, hi! It's got to stay in that lifted position, otherwise the throat gets smaller and it doesn't sound good up high. But anyway, that's good. You want to sing your song?
Yeah.
What are you going to sing?
I'm gonna do Warm All Over.
Okay.
And so, yes, Benjamin and I have been like really working in the mixy, just like mixy everything. So this is like obviously a more
Okay,
legit
but
mixy job.
don't forget when you're working mixy to listen to the vowels. That's important.
Yes, ma'am. It makes me feel warm all over, warm all over. Every time you smile, you get me warm all over. Sometimes I feel kind of out in the cold, but then I touch your hand and I'm home, home again and warm all over. Warm all over. Gone are all the clouds that used to storm all over. Please always let me keep feeling the way I do. So warm all
So Bryn, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
This is also it's because it's Zoom, it's a little hard to figure out exactly. But I feel like what's lacking here is strength in your rib cage.
Great.
I mean, this is kind of a little bit of an educated guess, but the amount of air that you're taking probably could be more.
Okay.
And this is a physical thing. And the kind of the reason I say that is because I spent probably 20 years, 25 years breathing in a way that was adequate, and nobody ever really criticized me because I wasn't going, and you're not doing that. But it took a lot of work here in New York on my body to actually be able to figure out there were plenty of places in my middle part body, my torso, my lower body, that I didn't have access to, that once I finally had access to, I could take in so much more breath. And I was like, wow, why didn't anybody ever tell me that? Well, because they didn't, So this is a question of really kind of deconstructing what you have done, not so much because it's wrong, but because it could be better. It's adequate, but it could be more than adequate. So
I will say I'm pretty pregnant right
Oh.
now. And
Oh, well, I can't see that.
I know, like here's the belly. There it is.
Oh,
So,
well,
like,
that could have a big influence.
There's just like not as much room. So I'm not discounting what you say. I'm just saying I've also been working on breathing the last several months anyway.
Well, there you go. I guess my intuition was right, but now we know there's another reason. How about that? Okay. So the more pregnant you get, probably the less air you're going to get because the baby's pushing up on your diaphragm. Anyway, other than that, the best thing that you can do in this piece is to try to make the sound warm, not bright.
All over? Warm all
Yeah,
over?
all over. Because your voice has got plenty of brightness in it. It doesn't need more.
Great.
Right? So can you just say the words a little bit?
Yes. It makes me feel warm all over. Warm all over. Every time you smile, you get me warm all over.
Okay, good. Stop. Now, I want you to say it a little higher. And I really want you to think, oh, warm all over. Warm all over. And not warm all over. Don't go forward. Go back.
Okay. It makes me feel warm all over.
Yes, but now you drop the pitch.
Oh,
you have to keep that sound quality higher.
Yes,
warm, warm, warm all over.
It makes me feel warm all over.
That's better.
Warm all over.
Okay. Now, what is the first pitch of that piece?
Oh, gosh. I think it's an E. It's an E or an E flat. Whatever that is.
It's an E.
Great. Yes. Then it's an E.
Okay. So, warm all over. Warm. Not warm. Not warm.
Okay.
And it's a different shape inside your mouth. So just do the E on the word warm. Okay. It's almost an ah on the vowel. Yeah, that was better.
Okay. Again? Should I do the whole warm all over?
Yeah, do the whole phrase.
Okay.
And because the baby, I would just say in this case, breathe more often because you won't be able to take these big long breaths. So put breaths, if you have to go warm all over, that's better than trying to get through on one breath and you physically can't, right? Try again.
Warm all over.
Right. That's just better because it sounds warmer.
Okay.
And since that's the whole thing of this piece, right?
Yes.
Jeanie, hi, it's Roseanne. Billy had to go because he has to teach.
Yeah.
And I believe we're supposed to go till 8:30. Is that what you understood? So you have a minute or so, and then we can show the slides for the Institute.
Okay.
If you would like.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Sure, hon.
So that's actually, it doesn't go up all that much the rest of the piece, right? It goes mostly in the middle.
Is an F sharp.
Okay. So what you need to work on at the moment, while you're waiting for the baby, is to find ways to problem solve so that you can get extra breaths in, and then listen to the vowels so that you get whatever the word is, you try to sound like that. Because otherwise your voice is fine. You sound beautiful. And so this is like nitpicky stuff, but it'll make it a more polished performance. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Jeanie.
Oh, you're so welcome, Bryn. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Everybody applause for Bryn. Yay! All right. Now, for those of you that don't know, and we do have new people because this was a freebie, Roseanne and maybe Craig are going to put up the slides about the Institute. So she'll do that. So our Institute runs from July 13th to the 21st this year in Berea, Ohio, which is outside Cleveland. Each level is 3 days. You do level 1, then level 2, then level 3, regardless of what your background is. You can do 1 and go home. You can do 1 and 2 and go home, and you can do 1 and 3 and go home. And there are other courses running simultaneously for those who have done the levels in the past. So if you have done levels 2 and or 3, you can work with Dr. Therese Robinson Martin, who is amazing expert on African American music. Her course is called Soul Ingredients, When Science Meets Soul. And she has 2 levels, so entry level and an advanced level, and those are the dates. And we have 2 more. We have working with transgender or gender non-binary voices, taught by Dr. Anita Kozan, a speech language pathologist who has many years of expertise in that community, but she's also a singer and a pianist and a musician, and is very knowledgeable about the whole process of vocal production. As well, we have Vocal Health for Intensive for Singers by Dr. Claudio Milstein, also a speech language pathologist who is at the world-renowned Cleveland Clinic, one of our most esteemed medical centers in the United States. And his course is during level 3. It's a day and a half, and it's for our graduates. If you've done the levels in the past, you need these courses. They are really not optional. They are requirements. And if you want to get them next year, then you've got to come this year and do levels 1, 2, 3. You can register. We have a little bit of room left. If you want to go for more information, we should have a slide for that. It's www.bw for Baldwin Wallace .edu/LoVetri. That's my last name, LoVetri, and that takes you to the registration page with the schedule and all the rest of that. We have dorm rooms available and a meal plan. We also have hotels close by, and we have a little jitney bus that takes you back and forth from the hotel to the school. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. We eat a lot. We drink a lot. And we just generally are very happy together while we are learning. I have an amazing faculty with enormous experience, not just in my work, but in all kinds of other singing. Roseanne was a music educator for a long time, but she has sung classically. Now she's in a rock band. And Craig was a professional choral singer for 30 years, but he has worked with music theater students at Capilano University for a long time, and they're very successful students. So Craig, you have something to add?
I just want to encourage everyone to attend the post-certification courses if you possibly can. They are mind-expanding to the nth degree. You will learn so much that complements what Jeanie has taught us all that you can use in your studios and in your teaching. It's amazing. And if you've already taken levels 1, 2, and 3, come back and review. You would be astonished at how much more clarity there is when you come back and review.
Yeah, everybody says it's always a little different each year. We tweak it a little bit, and you hear things each time that you didn't hear before, or you hear them in a new way. And I mean, I don't know how many medical lectures I've heard in my life, but I always get at least one new thing.
Sure.
And I think that the review process for people who've done it before is heavily discounted, so you could take advantage of that. You know, we're very grateful that Baldwin Wallace allows us to be there. It's a great place. The conservatory is sponsoring the Community Art School, which is where we are housed in the summer, thanks to Benjamin Zarnota, who is a connection there. And I want to thank all of you who were here tonight, who've been a part of the Somatic Voicework community for a long time. You matter. I've seen so many of the wonderful faces. I see Sudarad and Peter and Sandy, so many of the wonderful teachers that are here who've been hanging out with us. My faculty, Jocelyn is here. It couldn't be better. We have some amazing artists, teachers at universities. It's just a terrific community. And I'm very honored that everybody that was here tonight took the time to talk about me and, Whoopi Jeanie. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I really am here to say whoopee everybody else, and particularly our three experts, the Dr. Trimis, Dr. Anita, and Dr. Claudio. You don't get those people just any old where. What they have to offer is unique and special and rare. So if you have questions, you can email the school, you can email Billy, you can email any of us. And we really, really want you to share. We count on you to do the social media sharing. We don't have a big advertising budget. We don't have a lot of promotional money. And so we are dependent upon people who know the work to tell other people about the work. And so if you would do that for me, if you were kind enough to generously share to anybody who might be interested, there are no prerequisites, you just show up. And so we have everything from soup to nuts, and we somehow it works out really great. I want to thank Billy and thank also Roseanne and Craig for their help. And I hope that I will see you in July in Ohio. Otherwise, I'll probably be back to doing webinars in September, and you'll get the notice about that, and welcome to come to those. And in the meantime, I wish you all a great peace and happiness. Our work, all of our work, yours and everything that you do, helps make the world a better place. We are helping heal the world because the world really needs healing. So you keep doing what you do, and you keep being who you are, because it's important. Okay? Thank you so much.
Right. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you at Baldwin Wallace this summer.
July. Yes.
Yeah.